Welcome back, French and Friends here on 1590 WCGO. We continue our discussions with mayoral candidates in Evanston. Pleased to welcome Jeff Smith into the studio. Of course, a mayoral candidate here. We have an election coming up very soon, Mr. Smith. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good to have you. Thank you so much. Okay, there's so very many things that we could ask. So let's just start. I'm curious, what would you like to continue that our mayor has been doing? First of all, what are some of the things you appreciate of this current administration that you want to see Evanston continue doing?
I don't know that Mayor Tisdall has gotten the credit she deserves for working on summer jobs. She's really gone out of her way to help create some positions for kids that need it, and there's nothing like getting the work experience if you want to get a leg up into the real world. Another thing is that she has been an advocate for sustainability of Evanston, and we've made some strides under her administration.
And what would you like? What would you do differently? What about a Jeff Smith administration? What would that look like? What would be new?
Well, Evanston's a great town, but I think we could ramp it up one level and really be an amazing town. I want people all over the country, actually, to think, gosh, when I go to Chicago, I'd really like to make a side trip up to Evanston because it's a special and unique place. And think of it, they've got these eclectic stores, and the streets are full of landscapes of native plants, and you can go down to the beach that's been naturalized, and you can go see some great music. And it's not just a place to go and have a great meal at one of our many restaurants, but to really experience the vibrancy and creativity of the city.
Yeah, it really is marvelous to me, or curious to me, I should say, that Evanston remains a secret to those around Chicago. Everybody knows it's there, but they say it's so difficult to get here. And I truly find it probably the best neighborhood of any of the Chicago neighborhoods.
It's actually really easy to get here. That's one of the reasons that the land values here are high and that it was settled. Northwestern didn't agree to put the university here. The trustees weren't going to do it until they got a deal from the St. Paul Railroad to extend the line up here. And we've got 2 transit lines that come through here. Not everybody has that. So we're easy to get to, but besides the exciting things that we've got, Evanston does have kind of a sleepy and conservative tradition, and that often, I think, puts a damper on things.
You mentioned, native plants, things like that. I know the environment is really important to you. And now, how can you marry environmental, health and well-being of the community and economic development? Sometimes people think these things are at odds when they don't have to be.
Really, the environment is key to the entire economy going forward. The environmental issues are important to a diversity of your economic workforce. The new energy bill that was just passed by the Illinois legislature is going to create some great opportunities in solar and in weatherization, and those are things that you can't outsource to India. You can't get somebody from overseas. You're going to have to hire locally if you want to put solar on top of your roof to heat your hot water. Also, you can leverage that. Evanston could be a center that's known for wind power, for example. There's probably 100 consulting jobs that you could create just by becoming a center for the eventual offshore wind that will come to Lake Michigan, whether it's 50 years from now or 5 years from now.
Now, Jeff Smith, jeff4evanston.org, the number 4, Jeff, traditional spelling, 4evanston.org. I know you have been in and around government, I should say, and out for many years, all throughout your career. And how's that going to help you out as the next mayor?
Well, I've been inside and I've been outside, and I know that inside is better. Well, you can get more done in one day of boring bureaucracy than in a month of pounding on the doors and howling at the moon from the outside. I mean, I like a good protest march as good as anybody. I've probably held up more signs and stood on street corners and had the occasional sit-in of any candidate in this race. But I got a chance to be on the executive team of the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, and we had 500,000 acres under our jurisdiction and a $250 million budget, 1,400 employees, which is about the size that Evanston employs. And so I've got a good idea of how government works and some of the day-to-day issues that come up that aren't apparent to the public, that isn't as involved in the details. They see pictures of Mayor Tisdall, for example, christening a new facility, but it's not the same as getting into the nitty-gritty of something that's going on in second tier down in a department.
What do you think are some of those issues that the mayor can really help with? The people that are hurting out there, what can the mayor's office do?
Well, the mayor's office can set a tone. The mayor can help epitomize the values that the community holds. The mayor also, and this is one more thing that Mayor Tisdale, I think, has really helped elevate the office, can be an ambassador to other elected officials, whether they're neighboring mayors of neighboring communities or the U.S. senators and the congressional delegations. So you can pitch your argument for a grant. You can help to brand the city. It's a lot of lines of communication, and all that can help to bring money, grants, business, and visitors to the city.
Jeff Smith is our guest, mayoral candidate for Evanston. Jeff for Evanston.org. Affordability, I know that's really important to you. You see all around the city, rents, or the city of Chicago rents are going up, and I can only assume the same thing in Evanston. It's becoming harder and harder for working class people just to eke out a living, let alone save money. What's something that we can do here to make sure that Evanston is appealing and the people of all strata can survive and thrive?
Well, part of it is that the city has to keep a handle on its own budget, and all the other taxing bodies have to as well. It's very easy to have what I call the soft bigotry of unrestrained spending when you're comfortable enough that you can handle $1,000 or $2,000 more a year in property taxes. But that might be the difference between getting by or having to go deeper into your credit card debt if you're a family of limited means. So I think it's real important that the city government, and in conjunction with the schools, holds the line on spending. The second thing is that part of what's driving the rents, and of course, is market forces that are somewhat beyond our control. We're a great place to live. We've got a lake. We've got a university. We've got these rail lines. We've got a vibrant and creative community that people want to be around. But we have to make sure that the city is not throwing gasoline on the fire, in effect, by subsidizing so many luxury housing developments that you have a ripple effect and you're raising land values all around, because developers and speculators are saying, well, I can pay a lot more for this because then I can fill this lot with something that's never been there before.
Jeff, you've hit on something, and I know you've been involved in Occupy before, and I'm fascinated by the similarity in tone. And some people, when they don't really think too deeply with me, think I'm insane. But let's just take the presidential election without any judgment on character or any of that. But Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump were both able to tap into the people that were hurting, quite literally hurting. And I fear that we've reached a point nationally and all the way down to state and local where the disconnect between what it takes to operate a family is impossible to understand for those in power. They don't understand that an extra $50 could mean the world. $50 to some people might as well be $50,000 to other people. And when we continue to get nickel and dime, then I'm talking about the people you weren't even mentioning. With property owners, these folks aren't even close to owning a home. How can we help those people? Just put a few, just extra bucks. It doesn't take much to make a huge difference in a child's life, a father's and a mother's life. What can we do?
Well, you hit on something that's real important to me. I've been talking for years about the disconnect between government and the governed. And I'm going to wear my heart on my sleeve. I think I was the only
It's in vogue these days.
I was the only candidate that knocked on doors for Bernie. Not that I didn't like Hillary. I grew up 7 blocks from her, from the Rodham family, actually.
Wow.
But I've met both of them. They've both come to Evanston. One of the things that we can do is to have a little more local hiring when we have these projects. We bring in cement trucks all the time. You see them all over town from Ozinga. Well, that's a downstate concern. The fellow actually ran against a Democratic congresswoman down there, Mr. Ozinga. And projects I'm talking about, like naturalizing the lakeshore, that's something that, once again, you can't outsource it to Indonesia. And so you can hire local folks to do it, and you can give kids a job for the summer where they know the value of a hard day's work and put a few pennies in their pocket.
It's so refreshing to hear you talk about kids having jobs, because as we know, that's one of the the bellwethers of a healthy economy is many of our youth are not working, and that's how we learn so many important skills through life. One, managing money, just making money and the pride that comes with making money, managing money, dealing with coworkers, dealing with the public, whatever it may be. It's no surprise that I think there's sometimes rifts between the generations when that coming of of age, has been taken away from so many people. Okay, what other things we should hit on here? Arts and humanities. I'm looking at just some of the things that you have on your website that are important to you. Investing in the arts and humanities. What's your plan?
Well, that's another thing that you often don't see politicians addressing. To me, arts is one of the great local economic stimuli that you can have, because whereas you give, again, say a developer a huge contract, they might take that money and they're buying a house in the Bahamas. What good does that do to the local economy? You give money to an artist, what are they doing with it? They're going around the corner buying groceries, they're paying rent, they're buying paintbrushes or sculpting clay, and it stays right here. The other aspect of that is that, again, part of branding Evanston has to take what we do best and leverage that. Well, one of the things we do best is tell each other what to do, but that's not a great economic model, putting up more no parking signs. So what you want to do is take the artistry that we have, the intellectual and creative vibrancy, and say, this is something that people will come to Evanston for to see. Yeah. Pop-up galleries, art shows, entire art districts, places for artists to make art and create. We don't have enough of those, and it's not that expensive to get that kind of stimulus.
I think a lot of times people in a quest to tighten the belt in government, they've really jettisoned that, and I think you can never underestimate, or you can easily underestimate the psychic uplift that can give to a people when they have those unique things that make a community different than its neighbor.
Well, we're not going to bring an auto factory to Evanston.
No.
We're built up already, but we do have vacant storefronts here and there. We have empty spaces that could be turned into lofts, and there are folks all around us who like to go to art festivals and who like to patronize music and all sorts of creative things.
Yeah, if you could tell the people out there, we try to hit a lot of different platforms. Jeff Smith for mayor. What would you tell them? You could do that 30-second minute live ad just to the one hope to get to them. What would it be? Jeff for Evanston.org, I should tell people. JEFF 4 Evanston.org. He is running for mayor.
I want to preserve the best of what's the best of what's Evanston's past while building a better Evanston future. We're going to have a greener, cleaner, and leaner city government. We're going to take a great town and turn it into an amazing town.
Awesome. Jeff Smith, thank you so much.
Thank you.
More French and Friends coming up.